doing? This is your Uncle Jim speaking, fellas. You know, sometimes a dead man can be a powerful enemy. You know, your Uncle Jim, when you really think about it, is probably your only friend when it comes down to the glue on the edge of the ruler, the one who'll stick by you as you measure the waning years of your life. I'll be there to be counted on one hand as it shrivels up around the small number of true allies as you eye the tomb that's silently waiting. You know, socialite pals are a dime a dozen, but I'm the crime of the century, cousin, because I want you to know that someone has the currency and knows how and when to spend it. Is it air conditioning, or is it beneath the hair conditioning? Only the cosmetic industry for sure wouldn't know as rapidly its skull away we shall blow. And since the penis has been in vogue for the last 3, 9, 10, 12,000 years, let's get to the head of its class and sum it up properly, not Ted Koppeley. And they didn't call me the Sufi Sputnik for nothing back in Persia pre-Shah, you know, Hassan Sabah, the old man of the mountain, your ancestors' blood spewing from the fountain. I'll take your legacy, turn it into head cheese, spread it on an Egg McMuffin, and enjoy it under a starlit black Gobi night with a leg of mutton. And I almost forgot, penis donor. Can you play cross harp on a honer? Toot Dixieland without the use of your hands? Extract nuclear desert demerol from a handful of black sand? Maybe you could murder the guilty civilians with a toothpick from your ham-on rye as you smile ever so innocently and then wave goodbye. Perhaps you could manufacture plutonium in an uptown condo, then distribute it to the public disguised inside a product made by Ronco. Or belch Italian horse pucky in a glue factory on the outskirts of Naples, performing sex change operations on the back porch with a pair of scissors and a box of staples. Maybe you could shuffle excerpts from the Book of Thoth at a poker table in Atlantic City, never having to look into the eyes of another who is more diabolical, charming, or witty. Go ahead and suck the brain fluid of a vulture on the wing of Air Force One. Slap upside the head a nightmare when the dream has just begun. That's right, baby, burn the wedding gown, 'cause your Uncle Jim knows how to take it on the town. But I want to share it all with you because nobody knows what time it is, but I know it's time for hors d'oeuvres. It's time for a little extortion, some grand larceny, and a heaping plate of manslaughter with a side order of tax evasion. That's right, the correct equation, because the law is a wall spelled backwards without the L for love thy neighbor. Hence, if we shall abandon love and respect for one another, then I'm going to see fit that we take the law into our own hands, smash them up against the wall, and then open up the heart of bubbly with a corkscrew until pain becomes just another 4-letter word to those who inflict it upon the sons and daughters of your Uncle Jim's extended family. Better homes and gardens, vaporize the warden, sandblast the pig trap deep inside the stench of the murk with an Ankara capital Turk, galvanize the goblin pellet, pork rind the giblet gremlin, make it up, go sell it, trounce the peon beauty prize, wear the designer's flesh disguise, stalking pantyhose demise. That's right, fellas, that's right, guys. And someday when you get cocky, big for your britches, and I come to get you flanked by warlocks and witches, you shall heed my warrants, you know, Normandy and Florence. Kindly likely fishing for pikely. I'll trap you on the baseline and bust you down, Ronnie Cycly. Where the smooth kernels of corn that reside in your defecation are merely forensic evidence in a murder investigation. Go ahead and stick your head between two hooters, farm boy, 'cause there's 50 ways the cleavage smothers. And since we're on the topic of hickoid fundamentalism, how would you like to be one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time? How would you like to be the goat? How would you like to be on the eternal missing persons list? Don't sweat it, you already are. That's right, cosmic colostomy bag. As long as you become the czar of the telestrator, you sure as hell can fetch me coffee. Mind the percolator, 'cause they're gonna get your goat. And all you closet sorcerers out there want to try your hand at peeling the rind? Indians, Jackson Pines? Let's see you mix and match as I bake another batch. This is your Uncle Jim speaking, electric razor, fellas, 78 phono player aboard the old Scratch.
I declare war. My soul is descending into newly made flesh. That is an unselfish belief and the only one I can really contain. I am in part made of soil. We all are, obviously. And our first most important consideration is keeping that soil alive. And so my original voice has changed in order to keep my soil fertile.
You know, it's lonely at the top of the food chain, and I hate to disappoint you, but there is a replica of you, each and every one of you out there, in one of those rear chambers of the Museum of Slippery Funkdom out in West Schmuckville, just north of the Millipede Toll Road, creating unfathomable malice from the top floors and basements of Caesar's Palace. How about that, Lower Buckeye? Kind of like blazing Dresden down Fremont Boulevard on a dark Thursday. Well, let's face it, Mr. President. I'd be immortal in your world, you'd last a minute in mine. What's the dope scope, isotope? All down the line, sublime with a bottle of wine? You know, everyone out there's looking for the perfect match. That's right, well, let your Uncle Jim tell you about his perfect match. Your Uncle Jim's perfect match is 6 love, 6 love, 6 love, give me the trophy and the cash now. Muslim, anti-pig, Hindu, holy cow. So you gotta dream the impossible scheme. Whether it's the 3/10 of a second prayer by Trent Tucker or a fistful of dynamite, duck you sucker. Whatever your great comeback may be, it has nothing to do with listening to me. So if your knowledge creeps into the glorious crannies of sports folklore or the distant train whistles from the orchestra section of Sergio Leone's brain tissue, then you're already on your way to the ruby seat in the Emerald Lounge of the Legs Diamond World Tour. So why don't you just get a life? Or at least have the guts to take one from yourself, 'cause there's plenty to go around to set free from the birdcage of your mind to the top of the canopy. And broadcast that lovely, dark nectar across the empty lots. Park the specter. The conspiracy is financed by chump change collected by stoops with dead names plagiarizing the sweet Gobi nights of Genghis Khan and black Mercedes convoys along the Autobahn. And may the cocktail Molotov pour swiftly from the upper lofts. Texas, Sexus, and Nexus, Nook Suppository. What's the dealie, Plaza? Who cares who killed Kennedy? 'Cause your Uncle Jim's gonna pull out the scalpel and lance all you're worth, Fort. And if that don't charge you up, then, well, I'm gonna have to give you the gringo litmus. Kinda like the stock market going bust around Christmas. So get your Mercury rising Lincoln Cougar, like John Wilkes Booth holding a German Luger. Reduce you down to small stature, introduce you to some of Georgie's low nature. Okay there, doughboy, you want to argue about which drawer the knives and forks go into? Jump on board, sail the doldrums, go stand still, 'cause pettiness is just a slow boat to Slugsville. But your Uncle Jim's not up to snuff on the pronunciation of the English translation, fellas. You know, for example, were you jousting with Proust or were you roosting with Proust? I guess that depends on your sexual preference there, dictation migration. That's why your Uncle Jim likes to put you under the microscope and give you a little of that rope-a-dope. Because there's only so much free time in the free world because you're spending it all inside a clam looking for pearls. And speaking of deep-sea diving, let's put on the snorkel, shall we, and go way down with Lloyd and burn the bridges. Map out those Lemurian topographical ridges. You don't want the woman riding on top because she'd probably screw you into the dirt because that's what the missionary's been doing to her since Jesus wept for a little variety in his sex life with Mary Magdalene. Kind of like not having much to rhyme with Gnostic because they want you to forget it. But that's not true of King James now, is it? Flying tomahawk to your crotch, Ed Ames, damsels and dames, all you cretins who went from wild to tame shall now awake to the Mongolian book of dead names. And while you're waiting for the cows to come home, and they won't be, believe me, because something else needs their blood more than you need their milk, can I interest you in a little game of Let's Spot the Black Chopper, still being flown by the ghosts of Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper? And if you can park the Space Commander in the specimen tank, I'll give you 2 free tickets to the Somalian Revolution. Whether or not you speak Italian isn't the case, as long as you wash it down with a Manhattan chaser and pencil me in on society's eraser. I'll tell you what. Let's induct all those power-hungry wallabies running the show up there in that bizarre, ambiguous them thing going down into the Marsupial Hall of Fame right next to the Tasmanian wolf where they belong. You know, in the extinct section. That's right, what goes around comes around, and for good luck, we'll put the icing on the cake and sprinkle their rotting flesh with guano from my private flock of Carolina parakeets. But you're not going to make a martyr out of your Uncle Jim and sit around listening to my Ennio Morricone tapes at my funeral and weep. No way, that's not how the tulip shall blossom. Because I want you to saddle up your horses now. Let's make it clear right now that it doesn't matter which direction you ride off in, just as long as you giddy up go, Daddy. Because if you just sit there trying to figure out how to balance your checkbook, some genetic experimental hybrid hickoid from the Hanson Brothers School of Hard Knocks is going to check you into the boards, and he ain't going to serve time in the penalty box. You're going to count sheep in a pine box until they turn into pterodactyls. Remember, what goes around comes around, and we ain't got geologic time to wait for you schmucks to figure out how to fly your own saucer. You know, there never were any guidelines, only memories of Vimanas as we sail towards the frontier in anarchistic splendor. Time will never run out, never in the naked clouds of absurdity where the accordions grind the wit of man to silence, where blood shall rain from the skies for a mere 10 rupees, where the goddess Kali is Our Lady of Guadalupe, where 330,000 deities plus shall kiss you on the tongue if you know how to count to 3 without going past 1, where science isn't a hula hoop that's crept up around your neck and tightened as the xenophiles roam in a dusky haze of cabin fever unenlightened, where a school of fish on a sharp right turn transform into the University of Locusts who'll never learn, where the sniper fires at will from atop the pirate's flagpole, with the crosshairs out of focus, out beyond the grassy knoll, where I romp the twilight splendor, returning chumps like you to sender.